Welcome again to Money Markets and Business Explained. As you can see, Trump is back and he's fighting for the USA with tariffs. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you for it. And also because it helps the algorithm reach more people. Thank you.
If you don't make your product in America,
This is
however,
fair
under
use.
the Trump administration,
Remember
you will
that.
pay a
And
tariff,
also President Trump's
in some
statement
cases, a rather
speaks
large
for
one.
itself.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day was cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market.
The United States is a global powerhouse of innovation, agriculture, and industry, but unfair global tariffs are strangling American jobs, farms, and factories, and are crippling American businesses and workers. Join us as we break down the staggering $40 to $100 billion in annual export revenue losses faced by U.S. companies. This is more than numbers. It's a war on America's life, health, and future.
It's the incentive we created, or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them.
Now, throughout the rest of this video, I'm playing these countries' music, showing you how happy they are, undermining and stealing our money and our livelihood. Now, as we know, that ends with Trump now. So let's see here. China, we are losing $22.9 billion, minimal to them. China's economic warfare targets everything American. Everything, I mean, video games, software, these guys. Wine, they're hitting us with a 93% tariff on $1 billion of California wines, mainly the Jackson family wines. And so they're losing $930 billion to China. Pork, they're hitting pork with a 62% tariff on $5 billion of exports from Smithfield Foods. Used to be called Smithfield Force, but you know, they have sausages and chicken stuff, but $3.1 billion loss right there. Wow. Minimal. Remember, these are all minimal. And the autos, that's a 40% tariff on and $8 billion from Ford, Tesla, and GM. That's right, even Elon, he's over there selling stuff to them and he's still getting hit. That's crazy. And so that market is $3.2 billion. Agriculture, 80% tariff on $30 billion of soybeans and corn and etc. from ADM and Cargill. So that's a $15 billion loss minimal. And lobsters, because the Chinese eat a lot of lobsters and crab and stuff like that, 35% tariff minimal. Sometimes, you understand, sometimes you jack these tariffs up for a few months. Why? Because, China. On a $300 million minimal, and that's from Maine lobster. So they're losing $105 million minimal. And whiskey, because they love to drink, 25% tariff on $500 million from Jack Daniels, and that's at $125 million loss to Jack Daniels. And sorghum, which is kind of like a grain, you can feed livestock, etc. with it. They're hitting 70% tariff on a company like CHS, $500 million from them in that market, and that's $350 million CHS is losing, as well as others. So your total loss minimal from China is $22.91 billion. China's crushing U.S. farmers, factories, and innovation. Plus they come here and they try to buy up the land around farmers, the land around military bases. China. Here's Canada. Let's see, $12 billion of loss. Wow. Well, our ally to the north, what that guy who just left, I forget him, Trudeau, and he got this other guy, literally his boss is in his position now running Canada. Our ally slams U.S. dairy with 300% tariffs. Now, the steel, they're hitting at 25% tariffs on $5 billion of export from U.S. steel alone. That's $125 billion loss to U.S. steel. Now, the 300% tariff like Trump was talking about is $2 billion mark to Dean Foods, right? So they're losing $600 million. That's just one. There's others too. And then energy, Trump lowered it down to 10% tariffs because they're hitting us with 10% tariffs on a $10 billion export to Chevron and Exxon. And so they're losing, just $1 billion. But remember, there's other costs and stuff. They hit us excise tax and whatever. No, the autos market is 25% tariffs. They're hitting us with on a $15 billion mark between Ford and GM. So that's $3.75 billion loss to Ford and GM. I'm not a fan of Ford trucks. I'm more of a Honda trucks guy, but still, it's American. So when you add that all, it's like a $12 billion loss just in tariffs on the low side to Canada, our great so-called friend, who's betraying trail of free trade is hurting America's workers. Shameful. The European Union, well, they play a lot of soccer. So that's a $1.45 billion loss, remember, bare minimum. And something that I noticed with they hadn't shown their tariffs on our U.S. software and internet. So that's interesting. But Europe taxes America's soul. By that I mean our Bourbon and Harley Davidsons. So the whiskey is a 50% tariff on $2 billion market on Jack Daniels, $1 billion loss there. Motorcycles, 25% tariff on Harley Davidson, $125 billion loss to them. Peanut butter, and you know about them, Jif. They're the main ones. There's other, but they're the main ones. 25% tariff on $300 million of Jif, so that's $75 million minimum loss there. And steel, 25% tariff on a $1 billion market with U.S. steel. This is just raw steel. They can cut it, bend it, do whatever they want. That's $250 million loss. So when you add it up, that's about $1.45 billion minimum before all these other fees, the lawyer stuff. So they're targeting U.S. culture and blue-collar jobs big time. India. You see that snake there? Well, that's a $1.19 billion loss to them. And as Trump said, they hit us, from as low as 100% tariffs on some products to literally 200% for a little while. All these guys love playing games like that, And that's on Harley Davidson. They could love slapping U.S. craftsmanship. A lot of people there buy mopeds and motorcycles too. So it's 150% tariff on $500 million worth of Harleys sold to them. So they're losing that $500 million. Not losing 500, they're losing more. 50% tariff on whiskey, Jack Daniels. So that's $500 million they're losing. 42% tariff on almonds, Blue Diamond, a $200 million market. So that's $84 million they're losing, bare minimum. And they buy a lot of organic apples. We have some good apples here, Oregon, Washington. And hitting them with 70% tariff. So that's $150 million market. And the companies like Stemlet, that's one of them. So that's $105 million minimum. So you add this up, India, their taxes are starving U.S. farmers and artisans to the tune of at least $1.2 billion. Remember, they hit us with fees and all this other stuff too, so it's ridiculous. Brazil, with a green and yellow, with a diamond, blue inside a diamond. Well, we're losing over $1 billion to them. 35% tariff on machines that build America and build Brazil. 35% tariff on Caterpillar and John Deere. So they're losing bare minimum over $1 billion. And so Brazil are targeting our industrial might, which is crazy because they really need us. So I don't know. Mexico, our frenemies to the south. Well, they buy a lot of our pork and cheese, and they stab at the America heartland doing it. 25% tariff on our pork. Once again, Smithfield pork. Poor Smithfield. They do $2 billion worth of product with them, and Mexico's hitting them with a $500 million loss. And the cheese, 25% cheese on our Kraft and Heinz. They do $500 million with the product with them, with a $125 million loss. Then steel, 25% tariff on our U.S. steel with a $1 billion market, so that's $250 million. It's crazy because all these people need us, but even though they need us, they tariff us, and like Trump said, our idiots have for the longest have been putting up with it. The loss is at bare minimum $875 million to Mexico's betrayal, hitting our farmers the hardest, actually. Russia, $650 million loss in tariffs. Putin's 32.5% tariff attached U.S. energy dominance. Well, he's hitting our machines at least, like Caterpillar, which is a $2 billion worth of market we do with them. And that's $650 million lost just in tariffs alone. We also got to understand, when we go to these countries, we always have to transport stuff, pay for this, pay for shipping fees per product sometimes, or per, those giant cargoes. So Russia is bullying U.S. innovators. Indonesia, with a population of 180 million people, it's a lot of people over there. $400 million lost to them too. They hit us with 40% tariffs on U.S. food exports. Like a $1 billion export from Tyson ADM, Arthur Daniels Midlands, what ADM stands for. And so they're losing $400 million minimum. So they're making our farmers pay the price to feed them. Turkey, which is majority Muslim actually over there. $310 billion loss. They hit our they hit us with 120% tariff on Ford, and it's an insult to our U.S. ingenuity. So 120% tariff on Ford and GM actually, and that's a $200 million business they do with them. So that's about what, $240 billion loss. Can you imagine that? It's a $2 billion, but they hit us with 100, like more than what we're selling to them. So it's almost like losing. And then whiskey, 70% on our tariffs. And this will be a Muslim company. So isn't it interesting that with the Muslim company, Muslim country, they drink a lot of Jack Daniels. So that's a $100 million business. So that's $70 million minimum loss. So Turkey, like I said, is hitting us at $310 million. So they're taxing our American dreams and spirits. South Korea, as opposed to North Korea, losing $300 million to them, 30% tariff on U.S. beef. You know, it's a betrayal of our partnership with them because we're protecting them from North Korea and China. And 30% on our beef, and that's mainly Tyson. So that's a $1 billion market Tyson has with them. So they're losing $300 million to them. So they're making our farmers suffer because of their politics. And last, we have Argentina. That's a $180 billion loss. $180 million loss to them. So 35% tariff on our tech giants like Cisco and Intel. But let's see, the 35% tariffs on $500 million worth of products and maybe even services. So that's at least $180 million lost. So they're trying to silence our innovators. And the crazy thing is Argentina needs us because they just reformed their government and now 40% of people are unemployed. And that's supposed to be a great thing. Once again, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps out the algorithm. And remember, life is beautiful because of you, not because of these companies or tariffs or any politics. You make life beautiful. Thank you.